Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So it's that time of week again. It's our usual Friday night live. So let's have a chat about what's been going on in our garden and how everyone else's garden's going. And it's a chance for you guys to ask some questions as well, and we'll try and answer those questions. So let's see who comes in to join us and say hello. Well, I hope everything's well. I hope your gardens are growing well. We're in the middle of an unprecedented heat wave in the UK. The Met Office have just issued red warnings for Monday and Tuesday, and parts of the UK might even hit 40 degrees. Now, that's unheard of in the UK. It's absolutely something that's never happened before, and it break all kinds of records that have never happened in this country. So you can imagine what 40 degrees are going to be like here. People are already sweltering in when it's barely touching 30. So we'll see what happens. David Carlisle is coming to join us on YouTube, and as usual, what we're doing is now we stream across two platforms. We stream across YouTube and we stream across TikTok. So we get a chance to have a chat with everyone across a couple of platforms. Brandon's Outdoor Adventures. Brandon, how are you doing, mate? A long time no see. I hope everything's going well with you. Hope everything's good. It's hot over here in the US also. See, my sister just got back from Australia this morning, so I've been driving. I set off at 3 o'clock in the morning last night and went, 3 o'clock in the morning, went and picked her up, got back 3 o'clock in the afternoon today. So I've been driving I was driving for about 12 hours straight. I went to sleep once I got back, and I'd just woken up a little bit before this live stream. So I'm feeling a little bit fresh. So let's see what happens. But she was telling me that over in Australia, they're having record rains. Places that never get rain, that are never flood, they're flooding. And it's the same across India, Bangladesh, that sort of area where there's record rains. So there's quite a few different things happening all over the world. There's some quite extreme weather. 40 degrees, looks like you'll be wearing a coat. Brandon, 40 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but 40 degrees Celsius is pretty hot. Got a couple of people popping in and out on TikTok, so I hope everything's good with you guys. I've never been to TikTok. See, David, I'd never been to TikTok until a couple of months ago. I always thought TikTok was for funny dancers and for youngsters, but since I've been on there, it's actually quite, there's a massive audience, and one of the biggest audiences that's growing on TikTok is over 40s. So it's a growing app, and there's loads of people. It's gone beyond the silly dances and the silly memes. And there's loads of useful information on there. And what I'm doing is I'm sharing my gardening content on there, and the odd little, just little bits about me and little quips that I do. But nothing too silly, but it is quite entertaining. So at the moment, one of the key things in this heat is going to be to make sure that our gardens, are protected and our plants are protected for the heat, because we've worked so hard to get our plants to that stage. And I did a special video just on protecting plants through heat waves and getting plants through the heat wave. And that was out last week. So if you haven't seen that, do go and check that out, because there's loads of tips in that explain what I'm going to be doing to protect my plants in the garden, and how the strategies I'm going to take, which plants need to be protected, which plants you can care a little bit, worry a little bit less about. And I grow loads of heat-loving plants. So I grow loads of chilies, I grow loads of aubergines, I grow loads of squash, I grow loads of tomatoes. I mean, they all thrive in the heat. But then I also grow cabbages, and I grow kohlrabi, and I grow things like that. And they don't need the heat as much. And you've got to think about making sure that they're planted in a way that the heat isn't going to overburden them and cause them to bolt or cause them not to grow, because anything, especially if you've got plants in a greenhouse, anything over 40 degrees, so 50 degrees Celsius, and a lot of plants do actually stop growing. So that's something to be wary about as well. Here's the video I was talking about on YouTube. So I've just shared it on the YouTube chat. That's the one that I was talking about with tips on how to tackle the heating strategy. We've got people popping in and out on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, leave me a comment, leave me a like. So far, we've got no likes on TikTok. Likewise on YouTube. As you're coming in, please hit that like button. It does help with the algorithm. So if you, I'm going to swipe that way. If anyone saw the links that I've shared on Facebook or on my other social media over the last few days, we were part of a BBC podcast, so quite a unique podcast that's been documented. That's been released this week. It's called Blossom Trees and Burnt Out Cars on the BBC. It's looking at gatekeeping around nature. So things like what's preventing people from accessing nature, how people are, how there's barriers put up, especially from people from working class backgrounds, how they're prevented from accessing nature, because 1 in 5 working class people don't have access to outdoor space, don't have access to green space. So it's a really important documentary. So if you haven't heard that, I mean, I was they asked me to take part in it back in May. We shot it, we videoed it, we recorded it, they've edited it, and it finally went live this week, and it's the first in a 6-part series. I'm really proud of our contribution. The kids were on it, I was on it. We had a really detailed chat about what we're growing and the type of methodology that we're employing, and how we're doing some really innovative things in the garden. So if you like podcasts, Blossom Trees and Burnt Out Cars is really, it's one that's definitely worth checking out. Let's see who else is coming in. Yeah. So when you're looking at this week, back to talking about the temperature. So Monday, Tuesday in the UK is going to be really, really hot. Obviously, watering is going to be a massive issue, because as soon as you water your plants, the soil will dry out really quickly. And if the soil is dry, the plants aren't going to be growing. So what we need to be doing is making sure we're watering optimally. We're watering at the right time. We're watering the right amounts as well. So if you've got plants like chilies, I mean, I grow loads of chilies. If you know me, you probably know that I've got loads of chilies in the garden. Now, things like chilies, they can go with a little bit less water. So they actually prefer sort of drier conditions. So yeah, you can get away with growing them and watering them a little less. Billy over on TikTok, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thanks very much for coming in and joining us. Hope you're keeping well, my brother. Grant Brown, thanks for the inspiration to grow loads of chilies here. My nagas are doing just fine after using a tea germination. Grant, that's what I like to hear. Honestly, it does. It really gives a lift when some of the tips that we've shared, people come along and say, right, I've not been able to do this before, and now thanks to your tips that we've been able to grow it. And that's one of the things that we saw around, some of the videos that we did around growing coriander and how to grow coriander. Loads of people sort of said, I've never been able to grow coriander before, I never knew it was possible, and you just made it possible. And that really gives us a boost, because you're going to eat that, and that's helping someone to grow food and feed their families. Billy, alhamdulillah, I'm very good. I saw your comment about that little stitch I did. It's the first time I've done a stitch on TikTok, right? And what happened was, you know, I was stitching someone else's video, and all of a sudden it put this filter up with me with bright red bushy cheeks and lipstick on. I was like, what's going on here? Why do I look like that? And I was pressing things, and then I saw something that looked sort of normal. And then afterwards, I realized, you know, after I'd posted it and it's gone live, Dean from Dean's Lost the Plot commented that, you know, he commented that I've got eyelashes, and I was like, I've never seen these eyelashes before. Now I had to have a proper look, and then I've got these massive long eyelashes. I didn't realize I'd use this crazy filter. So there you go. It just made no sense to me at all until I'd spotted it. Willow Grove, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. I hope you're keeping well. I hope your Friday night's going well. So Billy sent us some roses. Thank you very much for those roses. Really kind of you. And some daisies. I don't know how these roses and daisies and stuff work, so I'm still figuring it out over on TikTok. You've got to bear with me, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Sunshine, how are you doing? Long time no. Yeah, thanks for coming in. So Sunshine's been a friend for a very long time, as with yeah, from very early on in my YouTube career. Hope everything's good with you. So we're getting loads of sunshine at the minute. We're in the middle of a heat wave, unprecedented heat wave. Gardening D, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much for coming in. You can claim these back or something. I'm hoping yeah, I'm hoping so. Collie Begum, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Can we have a look at your garden? Absolutely can. If you go over onto YouTube, My Family Garden, there's loads of garden tours. I'll be doing another garden tour this week, and we'll get a full garden tour out, and you'll be able to see what's going on in the garden and the stuff that's going on what's growing well and what's not growing so well. So there's going to be another one out this weekend. But if you go over on YouTube, there's absolutely tons and tons of videos on everything that's in the garden. How's the weight reduction going? It's pretty good, you know. So I started off just under 13 stone, so 12 stone 12, and I've come down to 12 stone 8, and my waist size has come down by a couple of centimeters, so it's looking good at the minute. And I haven't had to make massive adjustments to my diet. All I've got rid of so far is things like chocolate, ice creams, things with a lot of high calorie foods with a lot of sugar in it. So they're the only things I've cut out so far, and I've increased my level of exercise. And for those of you that know me, that know that I've suffered with a spinal injury for a very long time, and I'm just weaning myself. I know it's not something that's often visible in my YouTube videos and stuff, but I'm just weaning. In the last year or so, I've weaned myself off walking with walking sticks. It's something that I've never really talked about on YouTube, or never really shown on my YouTube videos, that I use actual walking. I've used walking aids to help me get around, but it's only in the last year or so that I've stopped or completely really reduced the amount of walking aids that I use, and so it's like at the same time as I'm trying to get fit, I'm learning to walk again properly. So it's a big step. It's a big step for me. So Biryani Man is back. Glad you could join us. Hope you've had your biryani tonight and you've got some energy. Planet Zog, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. I really enjoyed your podcast with Talia. I really enjoyed doing it. We had a really good chat. I've never met her before, but it was just like I was talking to one of my mates. Sat in the garden, just relax, just having a good good old chat, talking about anything and everything, right away from the methods I use from growing to the stuff I'm doing on Dig It Out. Yeah, so Billy sending some weights. Oh, wicked, nice one, Ro. I need to get myself a weight bench. Mr. Bengali man, I germinated some mango seeds and both are around 20 centimeters. Do you have any tips? My channel is about them and they're currently healthy, alhamdulillah. So if they're about 20 centimeters, so they're doing all right. Just keep them, give them loads and loads of sun. Make sure you don't make the mistake that I did. And I left my mango plants, my jackfruit, in the greenhouse over the winter this year. I mean, I was experimenting a little bit with heating systems in the greenhouse, and I was making my own sort of DIY heating. We kept a lot of things alive in the greenhouse. The heating did well, but it just wasn't warm enough for things that, for tropical plants like that. So sadly, my mangoes, my jackfruit, all of them have died. But we'll get them back planted this year, and we'll get some more growing. And in a couple of years' time, we'll get them overwintering for much longer. The sad thing was that a couple of those mangoes were like 4 years old. Jackfruit were about 4 or 5 years old, and yeah, they've gone now. But inshallah, they'll come back next year. We'll grow some more this year, and we'll get moving on. Imran Hussein, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I just got an allotment. It's quite bare right now. Any advice on what I can do this time of year? So first of all, concentrate on getting your soil protected. Right now it's going to be beaten down with sun. Your soil's going to be burning, and your soil's going to be oxidizing really fast. Obviously the sunnier it is, the more carbon's going to leak out your soil. So get your soil covered. Whatever organic matter you can get your hands on, get your soil covered. And if you can get a thick layer of mulch all over your garden, the advantages it will be that it'll be suppressing weeds and giving you that time to cultivate. I've got loads of videos on things you can plant in August, month by month growing guides. Check them out. There's absolutely loads and loads of stuff that you can plant. I connected to your honesty and humbleness, bro. Alhamdulillah, plus your accent is your mashallah. Yeah, the thing is, all over social media, there's loads of people, you can tell they're fake. You can tell a lot of people are very, very, very fake. Alhamdulillah, my channel's called My Family Garden, so we grow. And as soon as I said My Family Garden, we're getting family, karate kicking the door down. So come on, what's going on, buddy?
Karate kicking the door down.
You did Asad?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we try and keep it. As genuine as possible. Share our mistakes and our successes, and just this is me. This is who we are. Okay, I grow them indoors usually, see, gardening right now, they do really well outside. They love the sun, the sun that they're getting. They absolutely love it. So we're getting Ted Man saying fire trap grew, absolutely. Yeah. Keep it real. Navigate. I can't read the rest of it. My eyes are getting bad. How are you doing? Thanks very much for coming and joining us over on TikTok. Hope you're keeping well. Yeah, I could tell you got on really well with Talia. She seemed really interested in what you're doing and with your garden. I mean, she was brilliant. She was absolutely brilliant. And she's done a fantastic job on producing the show and finding really good quality guests as well. Derek, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Hope you're keeping well. How are you? How's your garden going? How are your potatoes getting on? Am I coming on TV again? I don't know. That's the honest answer. I've submitted quite a few sort of ideas to different TV channels. and we'll see if we can ever get a break and do something about getting a little show. But so far, it's not, unless people come along and say, right, we want you in on to feature on a little segment. I don't know is the honest answer to that. I had an accident and pulled my ankle out of my socket, still trying to gain my strength back in that. Sunshine, that must have hurt. Is it, are you able to walk on it again? Iki, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. KSQ Gardening, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Drops Family Garden, I hope you're keeping well, mate. Thank you very much for coming in. Bought crutches. See, one of the things about crutches that I always found was, you use them and because you need them, but then they can become a crutch. That's what I found, that you just sort of end up relying on them, and I wish that I'd stopped using them a lot earlier, and invested the time in trying to heal my body. And that's what I'm doing at the moment, just trying to lose some, my target is to lose 1.5 stones. If I keep going like this, I should be able to do it in about 6 to 8 weeks. Let's see. But I want to get stronger as well, try and make sure that my body can support, the muscles in my body can support my spine. And if I can get my strength up, then I'll be able to protect my spine, protect my joints a little bit better. And if we can do that, then hopefully I can come off my medication as well, because I'm on a lot of really strong medication. And if I can come off that, then that'll be a big step to just coming back to living a normal life. Core strength, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I do a lot of planks, a lot of sit-ups, a lot of press-ups. I do sort of like a calisthenics workout every night, but it's coming on well. Cupping, yeah, absolutely. Cupping is another fantastic method. One of my classmates, he does cupping, so he does the cupping for me. Yeah. Hi, having success with my watermelons. They're 2 inches diameter, growing in greenhouse, Komodo dragon. Oh, that's fantastic. I've never grown watermelons before, so if you have success, let me know the variety, and if you actually get a nice watermelon off them, yeah, let me know, and I might have a go. But one of the things is, cucurbits just don't get any space in my greenhouse unless I can grow some small vertical plants. So things like ridge gourds, things like bitter gourds, they grow in my greenhouse okay, and I allow them to grow in my greenhouse. I've had cupping done. I have had cupping done. One of my classmates used to do them. He does it. So, but my greenhouse is mainly dedicated to things like my chilies, my super hots, and my aubergines. So, yeah, we grow a lot of that sort of stuff. So, greenhouse space is a premium. Sunshine can walk fine with the boot. Wicked. The boot, I think the boots really they're a big game changer compared to the old casts or the spray and bandage and stuff like that. So super setups is asking, do I know about roses? I don't know much about roses, but if you want to tell me something, or you're not an actual are you an actual person or not? I don't. Can veg grow? Oh no, you are a person. I thought it was TikTok sending me that message. Oh man. See, I'm showing my age there, aren't I? May Allah give you shifa. Jazakallah khair. I mean, lovage is a perennial, grows like a bush and comes back each year. And has a citrusy celery taste, 14 times more nutrients than celery, survives colder temps than celery as well. I've never grown lovage. I know it can also grow like a weed as well. I'm a person. I can tell you're a person now. I thought TikTok was talking to me. Oh man. Yeah, I know I'm showing my age, but we'll get there. Planet. So watching your channel from Medina. Alhamdulillah, you just completed Hajj. Oh, Subhanallah. MashaAllah. While you're in Medina, please make dua for us, for my family and the whole ummah as well. And may Allah accept your Hajj. Yeah, may Allah accept your Hajj. Gentle light deadlifts will help build your lower back strength if you're able to do them. Deadlifts is an exercise that I'm staying away from for a little bit. I'm sort of simulating deadlifts without any additional weight, so just on body weight alone, and a little bit of resistance training. But with any actual weight, I'm staying away from deadlifts at the moment, or anything that involves bending type exercises without proper support on my back. It has been quite fragile, and I just don't want to risk that yet. Not until I've built myself up a little bit. So Billy again has sent some roses. Jazakallah khair. Slowly but not too much. Soon we'll take to absolutely. Can you grow veg in clay soil? Absolutely you can. I'm in heavy. My soil was heavy clay. When I started on gardening, I started on really heavy clay. You know, you had about an inch of grey stuff at the top, and then once you got past that grey stuff, it was like yellow, sort of really heavy clay. And then once you got past that, it was blue clay. You know, because the lack of oxygen was getting down there. Now, the way I've improved my soil over the years is I've been planting loads and loads of deep-rooted plants to burrow down into that clay, and then I'll leave those deep-rooted plants in the soil to break down in the soil, and then that breaks up the soil and adds organic matter deep down without having to dig it. Other things that I've been doing is I've been with loads of cover crops. Loads of cover crops go down. I've done some quite detailed videos on YouTube for cover crops. That makes a big difference. The other things that we've been doing is deep mulches. So I put on a good few inches of wood chips on the soil, fallen leaves, hay, grass clippings, all sorts of stuff like that. That just gets piled onto my lawn, onto my growing beds, and that breaks down over time. And that really makes a big difference because the worms come in, they feed on all that stuff and dig it, pull it down into soil, and it makes a massive difference to it. My aunt grows stuff in her garden, mashallah, fantastic. You know, Billy, you should try growing something. You know, I think everyone should be growing at least something. You know, growing something at home. Mr. Bengali man reviews some Pakistani honey mangoes. I love honey mangoes, man. They're probably my favorite mangoes. I talked about this last time. And you know, Pakistani honey mangoes, they are absolutely beautiful. If anyone's around in the shops, go and check them out. They're one of the sweetest plants. They're one of the sweetest mangoes that you can get, and they don't have that tanginess in it. They are really something that I love it. Get some collagen for those bones. Collagen good for skin, bones, and muscle. As we get older, we need it. There's some supplements that I do need to get. So I love roses. I think the person on TikTok was asking about the roses on TikTok, rather than there's some kind of gift that you get on TikTok. I'm going to do a really bad job explaining it. I lost my crop to wireworms last year, so I only got a few earlies, and some others are planted on alpaca poo, and the crop size was huge. Pots like baked potatoes and no wire. Alpaca poo is I know alpaca poo, goat poo, rabbit poo, a lot of that sort of stuff can be used quite, almost straight away. Without it doesn't have the harsh nitrogen burning effect that horse manure or cow manure can have. But I don't know if there's many alpacas around here for me to get any. And since I've had my new car, I don't have a trailer on my new car, so I can't go and fetch manure yet. I don't think the family's going to be too happy with me sticking manure in this car. Um, in the boot of this car. You make me feel small at 5'2". Louis Gross. I'm tiny as well. Sunshine, I'm tiny as well. So yeah, join the club. Mulches are good right now. By the way, especially with the extreme weather. Absolutely, deep mulch is really important. I mean, it's best to apply mulch after you've had some rain, so you can lock that moisture in the soil. Because remember, one of the things that mulch does is it creates a barrier for your soil, so it'll stop things from going up, but it'll also stop things from going down. So if you've got a thick layer of mulching, you need a real heavy amount of water, in terms of rainfall before your water reaches the soil. So it's important to have moisture in the soil already. So one of the things that I like to do is, if we've got deep mulch, then mini swales make massive. Am I behind again? Mini swales make a massive difference in that system. Someone just said hello, Fraser. How are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in and saying hello. Hope you keep well. Cold fertilizer, rabbit, goat. Yeah. There we go.
What do you mean rabbit?
Billy's got to go. Walaikum assalamu alaikum. Take care of yourself, and inshallah we'll see you again. See you again soon. So Billy sent some more roses. Jazakallah
What's
khair.
rose?
They're gifts on TikTok, and you can claim them back, and that's how they work.
Oh.
So Hot Farm, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Hope you're keeping well, my brother. Hope all's good with you. I'm not going back down in size. I can't stress enough of the importance of vitamin D3. You definitely want to take at least in as maintenance, double it if you're deficient, and more if you've got inflammation. See, alhamdulillah, in the sun we're getting some good sun, and that's making a massive difference. It really helps. Anyone with the NHS advice in the UK is anyone north of the Watford Gap, regardless of the melanin content in your skin, should be on with vitamin D. So yeah, I have taken vitamin D for a very long time. I'm due some blood work soon. So once we get those blood works, we'll see what I'm deficient in or not. My ancestry mostly Dane, so I've got to hit my head on. So drops got a typical Norse massive Viking frame. Absolutely awesome. Grow Veg UK just arrived. Surprise, Monty is obsessed over mulches. Yeah. Oh, that's all I ever. Yeah. Everyone knows that I love mulches. I love deep mulch, and we have a lot of real success with deep mulch. Rather than adding compost to the surface of the soil, for me that's always been something that's been quite wasteful. I think there's more effective ways of using compost, especially if people are having to buy compost. And that's one of the things that I like to share with people is, look, gardening doesn't have to be expensive. Growing food doesn't have to be expensive. On a small scale, at least, there's lots of things that you can do for free. So a good way to make cheap mulch is put tomato or the prunings in the greenhouse for them to crisp up. Or we gather olive leaves from our big olive tree, alhamdulillah, which leaves it. See, any type of tree leaf is going to be fantastic as mulch. Just be careful with leaving tomato leaves um, on the surface of the soil around other nightshade plants. There's potential of them, even though it's not visible, tomatoes can harbour diseases and share them quite easily. In the compost, no problem, they break down, so all nightshades will break down really well in the compost. Some can, if you use them as mulches, there is that potential risk there. If you've got lots of ventilation, you've got lots of airflow, then obviously the risk is much less. Mr. A1412, Assalamu alaikum. Thanks very much for coming in. Hope you're keeping well. And Noor, Bangla Khudud plant. What do you want with that?
Where's the small ones?
They should be in your Fufu's room. One plant leaves looks like it's yellow and dry. Just one plant. If it's just one leaf, I wouldn't worry about it. Cut it off and move on. Just as long as the rest of the plant is looking healthy. If it's not just one leaf and it's more than one leaf, make sure that your soil, the plant is adequately watered. Make sure that you're feeding the plant as well. Give it a hit in nitrogen, and especially if it's an older leaf, I wouldn't worry at all. But if you've got some pictures that you can share, then that would be good. I'm on pretty much every social media platform, so if you've got some pictures, share some pictures with us, and we might be able to advise you a little bit further. So Nostradamus used a rose to cure the Black Death plague caused antibiotic. Alan Taggart, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in from Northern Ireland, and 20C and cloudy. So it's been a little bit overcast today, but it's not been too bad. It's been a little bit muggy. So no, brother, I have 6 plants. One plant seems to be very weak. Okay, so check your soil conditions. Well, what's the difference with that one plant in terms of soil? Is it getting enough water? Is it getting too much water? Bangla Khudus they can suffer from too much water. The Khudus will do absolutely fine in this heat. I'm scared of the plants suffering when I don't go over. When I don't go mums over the weekend. So Bangla Khudus, depends on what Mr. A14, tell me what plants you've got and which ones you're worried about. I've done a video specifically on how to protect your plants over the heat wave. Shade is going to be important. The time you water is going to be important. Any natural fertilizer for pushag? Yeah, I mean, there's one for pushak is Malabar spinach. They're not real heavy feeders. They really want heat and light, but they're not real heavy feeders. But if you really need to fertilize any sort of leafy plant, you want to fertilize them with a lot, a nitrogen feed. You're not going to like this one, but human urine is really good fertilizer. Manure, any type of manure is a really good fertilizer. If you've got stinging nettles or grass clippings, rot them down in water. You can use that as a fertilizer. So yeah, there's loads of free fertilizer that you can use. So Grant is saying my missus is great at sowing, picking it out and potting up with it in the greenhouse. Ends up full of stuff that we can't get out quick enough due to lack of space. If they hang around too long, see, Grant, what I like to do is I grow I have the same problem. So I grow multi-sow heavily in a single pot, and I'll wait until the very limit before I prick them out. So I don't go to start pricking them out when they're 1 inch tall or when they're just developing their true leaves. I'll wait for each plant to put on a couple of sets of true leaves before I prick them out and pot them up. So things like tomatoes, right? I planted probably 50 tomato plants in a small 10 centimeter pot. And then I waited till they were at least 3 or 4 inches tall before I moved them into the next size pot and started separating them. That just gives me an extra month, and I do that with a lot of my plants before I move them into different pots and before I move them out into the garden. Can I use tea bags for nitrogen? Used tea bags will take some time to break down, but once they've broken down, because remember it's just a leaf in there, right? So you've got to allow that leaf to break down and get incorporated into the soil. Yes, it will add a nitrogen source to it, but it just needs that time to break down. So Henrik is always enjoying the sun, and he's joining us over from Egypt. I hope you keep him well. And you rose were good for more than their beauty. They're inedible as well. I mean, a lot of people eat rose hips, especially with the old style dog roses. They're really good for that. They've been used for perfume for centuries. They have so many uses. Okay, close that door. Biryani man is gonna go eat his biryani. Inshallah, go and enjoy your biryani. You can make rose water. Yeah, rose water. One of my neighbors, they're from Kuwait, and they make loads of desserts for us. The Arab hospitality. If you know Arab hospitality, it's something else. They make loads and loads of desserts. So today, they brought over these sorts of cheesecake kind of things covered in cinnamon and homemade baklava. And she'll always put rose petals on top of the baklava. It adds a unique flavor, as well as it looks quite kind of pretty as well. Thyme, oregano in the mint family is an antibiotic, antifungal, antiviral, good medicinal herbs. Basically, any legume is a good cover crop. The nitrogen fixers, you won't know them as beans and peas. You know that. See, one of the problems is a lot of nitrogen fixers will struggle, in the over winter, unless you get them, established early. So what I like to do is I like to intercrop, interplant a lot of my legumes with other plants. So I've got sweet corn planted, and around my sweet corn I've got broad beans. I've got garlic planted in. Well, I've harvested my garlic now, but in the middle of my garlic I had broad beans planted. I've got onions and peas growing together. I've got squash and peas growing together. So I do a lot of interplanting. And we can get those multiple harvests from one piece of land, or from the same square meter of land. Or book on how to make any ointment. Wicked. What's that book called? Sunshine. Herbal medicine, natural remedy. Oh, there you go. Not really gardening. I have sleep issues. Any herb or even a good book. See, lavender's really good for. Lavender's always been really good for using for sleep. You can make a lavender infused tea, just a scent of lavender, just a natural. If you can extract your own lavender oil, that will also help. But the smell of lavender has always been good. If you don't mind having a warm bath, put some lavender, fresh lavender, in your warm bath. Just have a bath in that. you got some fresh lavender. You're inhaling the oils as the oils are leaking out into your bath, and then you're just inhaling the oils that way. That's always really good. That's one of the things that we used to use for, especially for the kids, when they were a lot younger and they didn't sleep properly. I struggle for the time. I struggle to get enough sleep, but most of the time, when I get to bed, I can hit the bed, and within a few minutes, I'm fast asleep. But I normally wake up in the middle of the night for my prayers, or very early in the morning for my prayers. That's when I really struggle to get back to sleep. Um, um, yeah, I do a lot of companion planting as well. Yeah, see, I love my interplanting. Lavender is a companion plant to Swiss chard. Peas are a companion plant to cucumbers, chives, onions, garlic. See, there's a lot of myths with companion planting as well. I stay away from a lot of what is a companion plant to this and what is a companion plant to that. Um, and I make the distinction between interplanting and companion planting. So interplanting, like what we did with our garlic beds was we took in between our garlic, before we harvested the garlic, we started planting kohlrabi as young plants. So as soon as we pull the garlic, the kohlrabi just takes over. So that sort of thing I did, call interplanting. Or if I've got a tall plant and I've got a short plant, or if I've got a shade loving plant and a sun loving plant, then I'll plant the sun loving plant in a way that protects the shade loving plant. So that's what I'd call interplanting. But whereas companion planting, I use companion planting for pest prevention. So I go for a lot of smelly plants. So plants that will disguise and mask the smell of another. Because there's loads and loads of myths with companion planting, like don't plant onions and legumes together. They do, they do absolutely fine together. They do really well. I mean, I've never been able to find the origin of that myth, but the best logic that I could put together was onions supposedly don't like nitrogen and legumes fix nitrogen. That's the supposed sort of theory that I've managed to find about it. But yeah, I grow onions and legumes together. I break a lot of these conventional rules. But yeah, give it a go. I think, let's see. I use lavender all the time, especially candles and moisturizers. So, do you grow your own lavender, or I plant a horseradish with potatoes? It protects the potatoes. I've never grown horseradish because it's quite an invasive plant once you get it grown, once you get it established, and for a lot of our diet, I just don't know how we'd use it. But I've never actually eaten it either. That it's not an ingredient that we use, but I don't know how we'd incorporate it into the food that we eat. Rico lands. I am really enjoying the sun. I'm going to enjoy the sun this weekend, should I say, rather, because most of this week I've just been stuck indoors because I work in an office. I'm stuck indoors all day. I teach during the evenings, and I'm stuck indoors all day. So yeah. The problem is my missus hates the smell of lavender. I knew there was going to be a catch. Okay. What else is good for sleep? Okay. Let me have a think of that. Let me have a bit of a think of that. Drop, you got any suggestions for Alan on sleep inducing herbs? Are you getting enough exercise? It's not plant related, but exercise will make a massive difference. Or late, I've started doing workouts just before bed, so I'll do some weights for about half an hour before bed, and that, yeah, I find that's really good. There's a 3 sister method as well. So horseradish 3 foot deep. Yeah, see, horseradish 3 foot deep roots, and because it's a perennial, it just pops back up all over. That's one of the reasons that I've never grown horseradish. But as well, it's like, how do we use it? You grow lavender plants and use it. Yeah, so yeah, it's a really easy one to grow. And there's so many different types of lavender. A lot of people just traditionally grow like either the English lavender or the French lavender. There's so many types that you can grow. There's so many different types that flower different as well. Some are a lot more delicate in fragrance as well. So even if you don't like the French and the English lavender, quite strong smells, there are some really milder smelling lavenders or different smelling lavenders that don't actually smell the same type of they don't smell the same as the ones that we're typically used to. I heard that Colunder poppy might be good. I've not heard of Colunder poppy before. Food forest permaculture. How are you doing, Howie? Hope you're keeping well, mate. Chamomile. That's yeah. Alan's 63 and he has an 11-year-old daughter. I get exercise. There you go. That's what. Yeah. See, I've got my son's 11, my daughter's 10. I know that feeling. Yeah, I know that feeling well. I think there's over 300 varieties of lavender, but the English and lavender is most commonly grown. Yeah, but there are lots. There are some really subtle varieties of lavender that are worth trying. Where did I see it recently? There was, I'm just trying to think of where I saw it recently. There was James Wong did something recently about the varieties of lavender and different types of lavender. James Wong, for those of you who aren't in the UK, is quite a famous celebrity gardener. So he did something on lavender, and recently, was it an article or was it? I'm just trying to think of where I saw it. But he was demonstrating the vastness of lavender. AI, all this heat, man, everything's bolted. Depend on when you say everything's bolted, you're probably talking about leafy type of plants. It's still not, for a lot of those kind of things like lettuces and cabbages and things like that, it's still not too late to sow them again. Get some more sown. And with the heat, they'll germinate really quickly. Heacham Norfolk lavender grows loads of types. Might be online. Norfolk. Okay, so there's a good source to have a look. You might even be able to get some ideas from them on milder smelling ones. Right. On that note, we've passed the 9 o'clock mark. I'm gonna call it a night here, guys. Thanks for coming in and spending some time with us and chilling out with us. Hope to see you again next week. We're live roughly around 9 o'clock. So yeah, I say roughly around that 9 o'clock because I'm supposed to be here at 9. I'm never quite here on time. But on that note, I'm going to leave it there for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'll see you again next week.